a good choice of words, but what?
Serving his
All right, I'm looking for a title. Okay. Apostles, right? And the word apostle means to be sent out, right? Those who are sent out with the message. And as we approach this passage in John chapter 14, that's been chosen for the lectionary today, we have Jesus instructing his disciples shortly before his death. But he's not talking about his death. He's really talking beyond his death and beyond his ascension, his resurrection and ascension, to their mission. What is it that they're supposed to do? And in this passage from John chapter 14, we sense their confusion in two questions, one raised by Thomas and one raised by Philip. The question that Thomas raises is, where are you going and how do we get there? Right? Jesus kind of redirects that question, not to where he is going, but how to get there. And he says those very famous words, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Where is he going? He is going to the Father. And because he is going to the Father, he is going to send the Holy Spirit to them. In essence, Jesus says to them, I am returning to the Father, and I am your path for you to get to the Father. Now, I think the text really puts more emphasis on the question that's asked by Philip. Because Philip's question is essentially, show us the Father, and we will be satisfied. And Jesus' response is, haven't you seen me? Haven't you seen me? In other words, I am the presence of the Father with you. You have seen the Father. You see, the message of the gospel, we hear all kinds of expressions of it, but there's a real sense. I think the most important sense is the message of the gospel is a person. It's not a list of things that you have to do. It's not a 12-step program. It's not a way of trying to meet some criteria. The message of the gospel is a person. And that person, of course, is Jesus Christ. And they have been with this person for a long time. And they have seen him perform his miracles. And they have heard him proclaim the gospel. They have seen his death, his burial, and his resurrection. And now their job is to take his mission and make it their mission. No longer are they disciples following him and learning from him. They are now apostles going out and proclaiming that message. And what does he promise them? He promises them that whatever they ask for in his name, he will provide it for them. He set the example for them. He says, I am in the Father is in me, and now it's going to change to, I am in you, and you are in me. Jesus has finished his part, and now he passes that mission on to his disciples. Well, you know what? The disciples are dead. They're all dead. So what happened to that mission? They passed it on. To whom, pray tell? To us, right? To the next generation. And the next generation passes it on to the next generation. And the next generation passes it on to the next generation, and so on. And today, we are the recipients of that mission. We disciple our children by training them and teaching them the gospel, and then we send them out just as we too have been sent out. It's been a while, but I did preach on this text before, and I've always been really struck by the words of Jesus in John 14, verses 12 through 14, in which he says to his disciples, not only will you do the works that I have done, but you will do even greater works. I'll never forget the first time I really read that passage. You know, it was one of those, what did he just say? You will do greater works than me. How is that possible? So, greater in what sense do you think? How is it possible for the disciples or for us to do even greater works than Christ? Yes, that's exactly how I see it. That Jesus himself is one person, right? And he can go and spread the gospel. He can teach his message to all people. And he can reach so many people. But if he takes 12 and he trains them and he teaches them, and then he sends those 12 out, and then those 12, I don't want to just stick with the number 12, but if those 12 disciple more people and send them out, then the message grows and multiplies, and the message is spread as the church did. And that is the task that is given to us as well. Perhaps you remember this question. Does anybody remember how many people Hitler killed? Too many? How many people did Hitler? I heard that not zero. Well, actually, he killed himself and his girlfriend and his dog. But that's okay. You are essentially right in recording my question. Is your name Joe? No, it's Tim, right? Yeah. He told me it's Joe earlier. So.
Half killed.
Yeah, he had many killed, right? He had non-combatants around 11 million. Somewhere around 5.5 to 6 million Jews, plus so many others. So many other people. But the point is, and this is a really negative, example, but Hitler couldn't possibly kill 11 million people. If he had a machine gun and just started spraying into a crowd, he would knock his shoulder out of joint before he could kill 11 million people. The gun would melt from the heat before he could fire off 11 million rounds, right? And I'm just, making the point that it's not that one person can do this much damage, it's that that person can influence that many other people to do that much damage. That's a negative example. Let's take a different, positive example. Martin Luther King announces he's going to give a speech at the Washington Memorial, the famous I Have a Dream speech, the one that was attended to by millions of people and was broadcast through television and radio and has been repeated many, many times since. But what happens if nobody shows up? What if nobody hears that I Have a Dream speech? And what if nobody takes that dream and runs with it, especially after he has been assassinated? What happens to the dream? It dies. It takes all of us to hear that message, to respond to that message, and to act on that message. And a brief word about the passage from 1 Peter chapter 2. I don't expect you to have memorized it, even though Woody read it so eloquently. But you might remember that he makes a statement there. He quotes from the Old Testament about Jesus being the cornerstone, right? This translation said the stone that is the head. But, the Old English, that's cornerstone, right? So